I want to introduce myself. My name is Jeff Moore. I'm the head basketball coach here at Sullivan High School, and I want to start out by saying thank you very much. It's probably one of the greatest honors I've had, being named the co-coach of District 3 by fellow coaches here. I thank you very, very much. I want to talk a little bit today. I want to introduce myself and talk a little bit about who I am and where I've been, and then I want to talk to you today about starting a small school basketball program. I'm going to kind of emphasize my Biddy basketball program here. I played basketball at Scottsburg High School in the late 70s. I played for Jim Barley, who was an IU graduate, was an All-Star in '52, Hall of Fame coach. I also played for Bill James, who played at Marshall University and was an Indiana All-Star in '69. He's also part of the Hall of Fame. My coaching career got started. I was freshman B team coach at Seymour High School during my student teaching under Gary Merrill, who's well thought of and has coached a lot of different places. And then I went from there and went to Brownstown High School, and I was assistant coach for 4 years under Otha Smith, who had a very good career there. And I feel that some of the things that I've brought here is kind of a combination of all those coaches' things I do. I guess I'm going to start off by saying, do you really want to be a head basketball coach? And I don't mean that to scare people off. Some of these young guys are still JV coaches, but it has to be something that you're in love with. It has to be something that you're passionate about. And I can remember, in the second grade, standing out by the elementary school. I'm going to date myself here in 1969, and our basketball team at Scottsburg had just won a Sweet 16 or won a regional game, and all these guys come by in convertibles, and the band's playing behind them, and all the high schools marching behind them, and all of us elementary kids were out there, and I fell in love with the game that day, and that had a lot to do with what I do now, and it's something I felt very strongly about my whole life. But anyway, starting your program. The first thing I say, number one, establish a coaching philosophy, whatever that might be. You might like to play 2-3, 3-2, whatever it is defensively. You might like to run a lot of sets. I am a little different there. I had three things in mind when I first took over here at Sullivan High School. I ran motion offense, and I ran transition, and I used pressure defense. Our motion offense, I believe it's very, very flexible. There have been years where I've run a 3-out motion offense. There have been years where I run 4-out motion, 5-out motion, whatever it might be. But I just think motion offense teaches the kids how to play basketball and teaches them how to read screens, come off screens. And, you talk about triple threat position and shot faking and all that other kind of stuff. But I just think it teaches kids how to play, and you can adapt that motion offense to whatever you want. Transition, we run transition like everybody else. I mean, we have 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. And, we run our transition off everything, off made baskets, missed baskets, made free throws, missed free throws. We're always looking to push the ball up court as hard as we can, and try to get some easy offense. We also pressure people defensively. I think around here, one of the things that we're probably known for is that we press people full court in a 2-2-1. We have full denial inbounds, and then once they get the ball inbounds, we try to get them to the speed dribble at the sidelines and trap them to half court, and that's probably what we're known for. Now, all this stuff that I'm talking about here has come from all the coaches I've worked under. I mean, we didn't make, I didn't invent anything here or make anything up. But, when you get to your program, whatever it might be, you need to be flexible with whatever it might be, because your talent's going to change over the years. It certainly has. I mean, I've been at Sullivan for 31 years, and there have been years where I've been really, really good, and years where I was down a little bit, and I had to adjust everything I do. You have coaches in your system. You want to put this throughout your system. And but be flexible with it. Let coaches teach those things that you want, especially starting at the middle school level. But allow them to put some of their stuff in also. And I think you just have to be flexible and change things as you go, and allow other coaches within your system to grow a little bit and decide what it is they want best. But they can still put these three basic topics in. When I first came to Sullivan, for my first 4 or 5 years during my summer basketball program, my camp T-shirts always had a basketball on them, and around that basketball it always said motion offense, pressure defense, and transition, and that's where we've kind of built our program from. But you need to be flexible when you're dealing and working in a small school. 2, build your staff. I'm pretty lucky here. I've got a very experienced staff. Ken Spurtle has been my assistant for 27 years. We don't always think alike, but that's okay. Doug Boyd has been my assistant for about 13 years. He's got 10 years as a varsity coach, experience as a varsity coach, and then I have Brent Kelly come in here. I guess he's a young guy. He's in his mid-40s, and and he's been around basketball and coached AU basketball and some middle school basketball for me. So, surround yourself with good people. Having people in your program with different philosophies is not a bad idea. My JV coach likes to run a lot of sets, and I run more motion, but I do have a few sets I throw in there. And I like it when coaches make suggestions, during the game. Make sure you got coaches that'll challenge you during a game. I don't always respond the way they want me to, but it's good to have different perspectives as you go throughout the game. And, you just need to make sure you let them know how valuable they are to your program. I mean, these people helped me with my basketball, my summer basketball. I can't say it enough about having good people around you that work with you. 3, teach fundamentals. That's one of the most important things we do. Teach fundamentals throughout the system, but let coaches be somewhat flexible. Have coaches emphasize the basic principles of your program, like teaching motion and man-to-man defense and using the shell game and transition and all that other kind of stuff that we do. Fundamentals have to be stressed, especially when you're talking about elementary and middle school people or kids. That needs to be stressed at those levels. Kids need to get better fundamentally, and it's going to only help you as you bring them on through the line. I don't like to see kids come in as 6th and 7th graders that can't shoot left-handed layups or whatever it might be. But most of their practice at the young age needs to stay and be working on. We emphasize passing drills and dribbling drills and shooting drills and all kinds of different things as coaches. And your younger coaches or your coaches at your younger levels need to be working on those things. 4, develop talent. I think this is where it starts. I started a bitty basketball program 30 years ago, and we teach fundamentals and we stress having fun in it. And I'll talk about that later. All this other stuff I'm talking about, it's whether you're a large school or small school, it's going to work when you're starting to build a program. The bitty basketball program we'll talk about later on would probably not work in a larger school where you've got 10 to 15 different elementary schools feeding into one high school. We're just kind of the perfect size for this program here that I put together over the last 30 years or so. But anyway, stress that practice at the elementary and middle school. These are some points here. Stress that practice at the elementary and the middle school level should be about fundamentals. Most of the practice, about 90% of it, should be about fundamentals, especially at those levels. Okay, it needs to be stressed to your coaches. And now, how do you do that? You get together with your coaches before the start of a year and have meetings and talk to them, invite them to your practices. I've had a number of coaches that have come to my practice over the years and looked at some of the drills we run and stuff, and they've taken it back to whatever grade they're teaching at or coaching at. Freshmen, we're still stressing fundamentals, and about that time is when we try to get our kids in our weight program as much as we can. We have an advanced PE class here, a couple of advanced PE classes here at Sullivan, and kids can get into it as freshmen, and they can stay in it all 4 years. And we see kids that really change their. I've got a young kid in my program right now as a junior, and that he's really changed his body type over the last 3 years or so. Randy Kelly, he doesn't look like the same person. You go back and look at him as a freshman, what he looks like now. And he's really made the weight room his room, and he does a great job in there. And a lot of our kids do that. Some don't, and they pay the price if they don't. But you have to get kids involved in the weight room. We're lucky here to be able to have a program where we've got kids coming in and working in our advanced PE class. I stress that the kids at the freshman level need to get stronger, need to get more fundamental. I always tell them when they come in our program that it's a 10-fold jump up from 8th grade basketball to varsity basketball. It's not easy. You're not playing against just 8th graders anymore. You're playing against kids that would be sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are probably going to be a lot stronger than you. I think over the course of 31 years I've been here at Sullivan, I've had 4 freshmen that played varsity basketball. So, it's just a tough deal to go get that point. Now, it's not easy playing the varsity level as a freshman, but there's some parents that think it might be when they bring their kids into your program, but it's just tough. JV level, junior varsity level, we still stress fundamentals, and we try to expand their game a little bit. We continue to, want these kids to be in our advanced PE program, and we're just trying to prepare these kids for the next jump up. We practice our varsity and JV together, and I think that gives our JV kids a good perspective about where they are. I've had some very good freshman teams come in here that, they end up all playing JV at one time or another. I can think about the early 2001, when I had a team that went 24-3, and they were great at full court pressure. And it literally, that freshman group I had probably had a chance to maybe win a state title when they're seniors. And And we always go back and talk about it. They didn't get the ball across half court when we pressed them for the first 2 or 3 weeks there in practice. And so it's good that those kids come in and get to work against the older, bigger, stronger kids and realize that, hey, maybe I'm not ready for this position yet, and maybe I need to work a lot harder than I have been working. So I think that's a good thing. Varsity, we always continue with fundamentals, but we concentrate on aspects of the game that need to be improved. I limit my practice to about 2 hours. Around 45 minutes of it spent on shooting and fundamentals. And the rest of the practice I spend on fine-tuning our motion offense, different sets or one-hitters. I probably have 10 to 15 sets that we use, one-hitters that we use throughout the year. And I probably only really concentrate on 5 or 6 as the year goes on. It depends on what the makeup of our team is. I like to end practice with fun, competitive shooting games, and for sprints or whatever it might be. And we always get together and talk about practice at the end as coaches and as players about what we need to stress and maybe what we need to get better on. Your off-season summer programs, as most of you guys know, this is an 11-month ordeal now. I basically get the month of June or July off, and I always laugh when people come up to me at the end of the school year and say, "Hey, you get summer break now," and I'm always telling them, I said, "No, June's the busiest time of the year for me, and it always has been." I start off with the fundamental camp. It's 1 week in June for grades K through 5, and it's about an hour time slot for K through 2 and an hour and 15-minute time slot for my 3rd through 5th grade. We start stressing shooting technique and footwork, triple threat, ball handling, passing. We talk about triple pocket shot techniques for our shooters all the time. I was lucky enough to have been able to work for about 5 years under Ron Felling. Ron Felling would bring shooting camps here to Sullivan, and I also would go over to Lawrenceville, Illinois, and work some camps for him over there. And as far as I'm concerned, he's probably one of the best teachers of shooting that I've ever been around. And so we still incorporate a lot of that stuff into our basketball program here, and it was good to have him part of it. And we run that in the mornings, from maybe 10 to 12 or 10 to 12:30 or whatever it might be. After that camp's over, the first week we bring in what I call my fundamental and team camp for grades 6 through 9, incoming 6th and 9th graders. Again, we stress fundamentals, but at that level, we're now starting to put our motion offense in. We're starting to put our transition in. We don't really press much in the summertime, but we really concentrate on putting our motion offense in. Still concentrating on our defensive principles, and we use 4-man shell and all that other kind of stuff. And then we're lucky enough that we have to play a 6 to 10 game schedule during the summertime. And sometimes we take our 8th graders middle school camp, 7th graders middle school camp, but we do get to travel and play some games during that time. That camp lasts for 3 to 4 weeks. It lasts until the end of June, and all that stuff takes place in the morning. And then in the afternoons we have our JV and varsity open gyms for our kids. And right now at this time, and it's the way it's been for a while now, we only go 2 hours 2 days a week. For fundamentals, individual work, for shooting, for scrimmaging, or talking about what we're going to do during the summer as far as sets and our motion offense and stuff. But the main reason that happens is because we're a small school of about a little over 500, and we have athletes that we share, and we have many athletes that are 2-sport or 3-sport athletes here at Sullivan High School, and we want them to be able to spend time, and our athletic director does too, our administration does too. And we want them to have time to enjoy those other sports also. During the summer, we'll attend 2 to 3 shootouts, on weekends. Sometimes they're during the week, and we might travel a few places here or there and play some games during the week during our Tuesdays and Thursdays that we have. And then we usually end our summer up with a summer camp somewhere for 2 or 3 days. And so, as a whole, we probably play anywhere from 20 to 30 games in the summertime. And I remember when I first started, we'd open gym 4 nights a week, 2 hours at a time, and all that kind of stuff gets a little boring. I know it's a little more, it's hectic now, and it's a tough time of the year because you've got everything else going on with middle school camps. But as I stressed before, I have good coaches in my system, and they help me with all this stuff during the summer. And it's not just me doing it all; it's a entire coaching staff endeavor, and I'm lucky to have them around. 5, establish relationships. As educators and as coaches, the most important thing we can do is establish relationships with our students, players, parents, our community, whatever it might be. I mean, you have to put yourself out there. You got to be flexible. You got to be willing to accept, that people might not agree with you all the time, and that it might not need to be your way all the time. But I have a good relationship within our community. I mean, I've always said our basketball program is community driven. We want our community to be part of it, and I'll talk about that when I start talking about my Biddy basketball a little bit. I try to know at least 10 things about every single person I have in class here. I teach biology and chemistry and ICP here at Sullivan, and every year when we start the year off, I want to know at least 10 things about every kid in my class, and I'm pretty open with them too. We have some exercise we do early in the year about that, and I, as far as building relationships within, we practice 50, 60 times a year. And, there needs to be some things we do outside of practice. I take the kids out to eat. Over the years we've gone to basketball games at times as a group. There's just other things. There's things outside the basketball court that you need to be doing to build those relationships. And as you do build those relationships, these kids start to feel safe. They start to buy in, and they also see how hard you work. And I think it's important to see that you're working hard to try to build a program that you want them to be as good as they possibly can be. And you have to show them that you enjoy what you do. I'm pretty passionate about coaching basketball, and I love what I do, and about teaching also. And I'll also discuss later about building relationships within my Biddy basketball program. Communicate. That's what I've got here, number 6. I have a parent-player meeting at the beginning of the year. I've got that all drawn out and mapped out. And if anybody wants that, I've got my email address here. I'll send all that stuff out, all the stuff about my Biddy basketball program. I meet with the parents and the players. I lay out our goals, expectations that we might have for our team that year and players. I go over team rules, and I tell the parents I have an open door policy with my players. My players want to come in and talk to me about what they need to do to get better and get more playing time. I'll let them know that. I tell my kids to start the year off that working hard is not enough. Working hard will allow you to be part of the team. But I want results. I want kids doing things right. When I put them in the game, I want them doing something positive. Whether that could be a hustle play or a defensive stop or a steal or a great pass or assist. But I want to notice. I want them to make me notice that they're there. I tell kids every year that I don't decide who plays. I know some coaches, I know how you feel about that, but I tell my kids they decide who plays. I don't. You make yourself. You work hard and make yourself better in practice every day. Impress me in practice. Do things in practice that's going to make me take notice, and those kinds of things are what's going to get you playing time. So I really don't decide. The kids really decide. I tell them that every year. Make yourself, do something that's impressive to me. During the course of the year, one of the toughest things we do as coaches, we have to cut players. I've never had a cut where I wrote a name on the board and said, here's who made the team. I don't do that. I bring every kid in. I talk to every kid, let them know I appreciate them trying out. And over the years, I've had some of those kids that didn't quite make the team, weren't good enough, and ended up being managers for me, and it worked out pretty well for me. One of the other things I do here, and I get great support here from administration. I've had great support for 31 years here. That's why I'm still here. I do not meet with parents about playing time. Okay? I let them know that during the meeting. My administration has always backed me up on that matter, and if it's an open door policy for their son that plays for me, but it's not an open door policy for them. We don't discuss or talk about playing time, and I've heard stories about other coaches. Some of the players I've had here have been other places where their administration have made them meet with parents 3 or 4 times throughout the year to explain why their kid isn't playing. That's not what it's about, and so I don't meet with them. Communicate with other coaches within your system, okay, within your program. Within my circle at Sullivan High School, I don't have a bunch of yes men. They don't mind telling me that we maybe need to change things. Now, I might not always agree with them, and I'm usually the one that makes the final decision, but I want people around me that's going to make me think outside the box. And again, that goes back to having good coaches within your system. We collaborate a lot. We, come in and, some days I'll come in, I'll say, hey, what do you want to do in practice today? You can make the practice schedule up today. Sometimes I make the practice up. It's kind of heavy on the varsity, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it is. Some of my coaches, or my JV coach especially, says it's screw the JV day, okay? Because all we're doing is working on the varsity stuff, and so they have to kind of put me on my place every now and then and say, hey, we need a little bit of time too. We're getting better at that, and again, it just depends on how many people we have in our program. Number 7 here is that I think is the reason I'm still here. My Biddy basketball program, I think, is the secret to our success. It's been going on for 30 years now. We had some goals. I had some goals when I first started this. I mean, I kind of, I got this and that from different, I go back to Bedford when I was at Brownstown with their Biddy basketball program. I used some things they use, and I've had to adjust and change over the years. And I'm not going to kid you, it's a lot of hard work. I can remember as a young coach when I first started it, there would be Friday nights that maybe I was not happy with how we played and we lost, and I had to come in and I'd be in the gym from 9 to 2 in the morning and then early in the afternoon, and then I had to go home, take a shower, get on the bus, and go back to another game, and then I'd come back in and we'd run Biddy basketball from 12 to 5 on a Sunday. I guess lucky for me, my school board did away with the Sundays about 15 years ago, so it made me kind of adjust my schedule a little bit, and I guess it's kind of helped me survive. And I used to do that during my basketball season. It would run from November until February, right before sectional started, and I've kind of changed some things as we've gone along, and I'll talk about it as we go here. I had some goals. I wanted to build a community-based program. I've had hundreds of people who've helped coach Biddy basketball for me over the years, and they've eventually become the people that have led my AU teams. They've become middle school coaches, even coaches at the varsity level for me. Those people that have had that experience, maybe never had that experience before. I have a lot of ex-players that come back in. I've got a lot of ex-players over the course of 30 years that come back in and help my Biddy basketball program and coach their sons while they're in that. We teach fundamentals there. We want those kids to learn some fundamentals about the game. As the grade level goes up, we increase the amount of stuff we need to learn. I suggest to you that when you're starting with kindergarten kids and first grade kids and second grade kids, whatever it is you're going to do that day, make sure it only lasts about 10 minutes, because that's about 8 minutes longer than their attention span. So, and with our kindergarten kids, I love it. It's my favorite group because they kind of go crazy over everything that we're doing on those days. Give young players a chance to interact with adults and teammates. Some of these kids have not been out of the house very much, and so it builds confidence. You establish relationships with your young players. I said that since 2004, that's the year my son graduated, every senior player that has played for me has been with me and around me for 13 years. I mean, that's big. I mean, their parents have been around me for 13 years. The kids have been around me for 13 years. I have some seniors that left my program this year that, they started Biddy basketball in their kindergarten. And some of them start, if somebody calls and says, hey, I got a 4-year-old, can he come to Biddy basketball? I even let those kids in. So sometimes it's even 15 years. So I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, of course, you have to stay around a place for 15 years in order to reap the benefits of all that, but it's fun. But it allows me to establish relationships with parents, the community. They see how hard you work and how much it means to you. And I have parents tell me all the time, I don't know how you do it. You have so much patience, and it does take a lot of patience to work with the young kids all the time. Here's the number one thing I stress here is those kids, especially the kindergarten through 5th grade level, they have to have fun. I mean, I tell the parents, we have a meeting as the very first day we have Biddy basketball, pass out t-shirts, I get kids in their groups, and we all sit down in half court, and I talk to all the parents. I tell parents, hey, this has to be fun for kids. I cannot stress that enough. I tell them that, if these kids do not fall in love with the game, that I'll never see them at varsity level, okay? I might have 30 kids in my kindergarten Biddy basketball, and I'm just hoping to see maybe 2 to 5 of them by the time they're seniors. That's an average number. But most of the kids that I have in my basketball program have been in love with the game, they played the game. That doesn't mean they can't be in love with some other sport. That's great. But it has to be something that's important to them, and for most of our kids it has been. So, but they won't reach my level, they don't have fun, you don't make it fun. Here's how and why I do this. K through 2nd grade, we go from I've changed it up a little bit. I told you I don't go November through February anymore. I go mid-September to mid-October. I try to schedule it when baseball's over with and Biddy football's over with and all that other kind of stuff. We go for 4 weeks. We go 2 nights a week from 5 to 8. I split these groups up into kindergarten, 1st and 2nd graders. I usually have about 2 coaches per grade level for those. It's all written out. I'll send you all of it. And it could be a player. It could be a player in my program that wants to coach a team. We have kids that have to do community service projects, and so they'll come in and donate their time and coach a Biddy basketball team for Beta Club or National Honor Society or whatever it might be. And first 2 nights, we usually meet 8 times in 4 weeks. The first 2 nights, I take them a full hour, and it allows the coaches to see some of the things they can do for the rest of the time they're with them. But I'll take them through some fundamental drills, dribbling, passing. We play some games like dribble tag and all that other kind of stuff. We do a little bit of shooting, and then the last 6 nights, the coaches will take them for 20 minutes of fundamentals, and then we'll put time on the clock and play. And the coaches referee and instruct during the whole time, and I buy them whistles. I mean, it's really pretty much about all they get out of the program. I mean, get out of the Biddy basketball program, I guess. But some of these kids have never been around a whistle. They don't know that they need to stop when the whistle's blown. The kindergarten kids don't know what the out of bounds are. I mean, you could have 2 different games going on side to side, and there could be kids on one team trying to play on the other end of the court or whatever it might be. But that's pretty much what we do. And we do that kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. As far as Gold High School, our kindergarten starts at 8 feet, our 1st grade starts at 8.5 foot, and our 2nd grade starts at 9 feet. We always have some kind of ceremony in the last night where every player gets a certificate or gets recognized, and they all end up leaving with T-shirts. My Biddy basketball program has been $25 for 30 years now. I've never changed the price of it. And we have of the 150 to 200 kids we've had in there at times, 15% of them might be in there and not had to pay anything, because we do have kids that sometimes parents will call me and say, hey, I just don't have the money now, or can I pay you half this week? And I just tell them, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. But my favorite stories is when a parent comes in and says, hey, my son slept in your Biddy basketball T-shirt last night. He was so excited about getting here. Those are the kinds of things that you need in your basketball program. 3rd and 4th grade, we start early November. We go to Christmas. We have a draft day early November. I bring kids in for about 2 hours on a draft day on 2 hours. I go through drills with them for about an hour, then we scrimmage, and then those coaches are going to coach within the 3rd and 4th grade league. We'll pick teams, and we try to make them as even as we possibly can. And then we'll actually they can practice with those teams when they can get some gym time, and then we start playing games on Saturdays. And on Saturdays we usually go from about 9 to 12 or so like that. It's not like it used to be when I was there from 9 to 2. And myself, my coaching staff, we're the officials. I mean, we run 6-minute quarters. We're trying to prepare them for 5th and 6th grade basketball. So we have officials, we have referees, I should say, myself and other coaches. I have players come in and keep the scoreboard. I have players come in and keep a book, and we play a real game that they're going to be, that they're going to see when they're 5th and 6th grade. We play about a 6 to 8 game schedule. We've had as many as 6 teams. Most of the time we have about 4, and they usually play about 2 games. So this lasts for about 5 weeks in a row, and then at the very end we have a sectional draw, a blind draw, and we have a tournament, and then the winners win trophies, and they've got something to play for. But we're trying to, simulate what they're going to see when they're in 5th and 6th grade basketball. I've got all that stuff written up, and by the way, goal heights at that point are 10 feet. This Biddy basketball program gives our coaches and players the opportunity to meet people in the community. We can build relationships and trust with parents. Those kids love having our players come in and seeing them, and we sometimes have a Biddy basketball night where they all get in free and they get to watch a basketball game, and if they wear their Biddy basketball T-shirts, that's big. And anything you do, get the community. If you're in a small school, get the community involved with it, and they're going to help you. Like I said, hundreds of coaches I've had coach in the Biddy basketball program. But I think it allows my community to see how hard that I'm willing to work, and my other coaches are willing to work to make us successful. Again, I'm very, very thankful for the award. I'm the kind of person that, anytime I go home and I lose a basketball game, the first person I look at is me. I sometimes don't know how deserving I am. I've been around for a while, and sometimes I don't know how deserving I might be of any award, but it's an honor, and I'm very humbled by it. But I want to leave you with my favorite quote about the game, and it's something that I read. I read this quote numerous times throughout the year, because we have ups and downs as the season goes, and as most of you know, it's been around it long enough. This game can humble you at times, but I fell in love with the game at an early age, and it's never changed. Here's my favorite quote about the game. It's going to take a little while. I've got it written down. All this stuff's going to be on my nose. It says, love the game. Love the game for the pure joy of accomplishment. Love the game for everything it can teach you about yourself. Love the game for the feeling of belonging to a group and trying to do its best. Love the game for being involved in a team whose members can't wait to see you do your best. Love the game for the challenge of working harder than you've ever have had at something, and then harder than that. Love the game because it takes all team members to give it life. Love the game because at its best, the game tradition will include your contributions. Love the game because you belong to a long line of athletes and coaches who have loved it. It is now your legacy. Love the game so much that you would pass on your love to another who has seen your dedication, your work, your challenges, your triumphs, and then that athlete or coach will, because of you, love the game. Again, thank you very much.